Music. The word conjures up thoughts of lovely acoustic treats for your ears. For tens of thousands of years, members of the human race have been communicating with music, and it's been theorized that as long as there has been music, there have been critics. There are diverse viewpoints on which person or persons are deserving of the glowing title of worst musicians in history. Many have been accused, or shall I say granted this title, but only one band has been accused more times than the rest. What band might be fitting of that title? Nickelback. To get to the bottom of it, we have podcaster of People Should Talk About It and founder of Umbrella Man Records, Justin Adam K. Versus loving father, loving husband, and loving wrestling fan Mike arguing against. And so, 3, 2, 1, debate. To decide who will begin our debate tonight, we will do rock, paper, scissors. Gentlemen?
Rocks, paper, scissors. All right, you can go first, Mike.
You got it.
All right, Mike, you can do your opening statement. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Let's set the scene. You're at your local gym, dry heaving on an elliptical or a treadmill, and you come to a Nickelback song. Maybe you just listen to Fifth Harmony. I don't know what your deal is. I'll be damned if you don't keep that bitch playing. At least for a half mile at the end, when you're like, show me what it's like. I'd like to refer to Nickelback as everyone's guilty pleasure. Most people, during some form of a double-blind study, would candidly admit to liking Nickelback. I like to compare Nickelback to Creed. Now hear me out. You find yourself singing a Creed song when it comes on, even if you can't feel your soul dying quietly inside. I'm a huge WWE fan. Don't judge. Every week, I have the pleasure of absorbing some hot, intense wrestling action. And guess who sings the song? The Krog. For a band that is supposedly not liked, they have sold 50 million copies worldwide. That's a big number. They have headlined festivals. They've gone on world tours. They've played many football stadiums at halftimes. They've done US football and Canadian football. We can count that. They've won Canadian Artist of the Year 5 times at SOCAM. What's SOCAM? It's like the Canadian Grammys, okay? Now I agree, this is like the Diet Coke of Grammys, but I digress, still good. Nickelback have been criticized for overuse of themes involving strippers, sex, prostitutes, drugs, and alcohol consumption. And for the derivative and repetitive formulaic nature of their music, I say, how dare you? When did those things become so frowned upon? I like strippers. I can't afford one, but I can imagine a nice prostitute would come in handy. Sex is cool. And I love me some sticky icky. Oh, wait! As far as them being repetitive, pretty much every artist is as repetitive in their own way. For instance, when you hear a Guns N' Roses song or an Eminem song, the minute you hear that voice, you know it's him, all right? So next time you hear the Krog start to jam out in the car, just admit it, you're singing too. The band later changed its name to Nickelback, which originated from the nickel and change that the band member Mike Kroger gave to his customers when he worked at Starbucks. So he's come a long way. He'd say, here's your Nickelback. And I say, let's bring the nickel back. Oh yeah, let's bring the nickel back. In a nutshell, they don't believe in spare change because they're ballers, okay? They're ballers. One of their first hit single was the theme for Spider-Man. Not any of the crappy ones that just came out, the good ones, the Tobey Maguire ones, okay? One of the most viral memes of the year is, look at this graph, right?
Okay, thank you. Justin, with your opening.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's start it off. So, Dave Grohl, one might say, is a far more successful musician than any member of Nickelback or any one of Dave Grohl's projects could do more and sell more than Nickelback. So his fake Twitter account once said, if you play a Nickelback song backwards, you'll hear the messages of the devil. Even worse, if you play it forwards, you'll hear Nickelback. Nickelback are the worst band of all time. Any popularity poll, or hate poll in this case, including Rolling Stone, NME, they'll put them as the #1 most hated band of all time, worst band of all time, garbage. There's even a Facebook app that lets you figure out which people to unfriend in your Facebook friend list by figuring out which one of them have liked Nickelback. Cops from the band's native land of Canada, where they supposedly have won the Canadian Grammy, they'll use Silver Side Up as punishment for people busted for DUIs and make them just listen to the song on repeat while they drive them to jail. Why are they the worst? It's science. They were literally conjured up by record execs to be perfect garbage. They are too much of everything to actually be enough of something. They follow genre expectations too well, which turns into empty imitation, but they don't follow them well enough because they're just viewed as too commercial, lack a stable and sincere identity. Nickelback is garbage.
Thank you. Mike, your rebuttal.
Well, all I can say is that 50 million copies is playing far too loud in my skull to hear your rebuttal, my friend. There was a couple things that I wanted to throw in there. One, they started with $4,000 and they turned it into a minuscule 50 million copies, so I give them a lot of credit there. Here's the other part. They took that $4,000, they put $2,000 into their album, and then they put the other $2,000 into psilocybin mushrooms. That's what ballers do, okay? So if they're gonna be a real Canadian rock band and they're gonna rock every single house that they go into at a decent level, Canadian level, okay, then we need to just take a step back and say, hey, you know what? This is the band. This is the band. This is the band that we should have been listening to a long time ago. And all those people who say they're the worst band, well, I hear Creed like in the background right now saying, I disagree with you. And I hear, I don't know, Kanye saying something ridiculous, all right, and saying something unprofound, all right, around a cavalcade of Kardashians, all right, and saying something that doesn't make any sense. Now he's saying it in his music. So I just have to say that there are definitely more bands that are worse than Nickelback. I've seen way worse. That's my own opinion, but I agree there are way worse. Not only are they way worse, they're out of bounds. I think everybody jumped on that bandwagon a long time ago, like they jumped on the Creed-hating bandwagon. I don't know if it's the religious undertows. I like me some JC. I don't know about you, all right? But I'm just saying, religious undertows or not, we should just embrace them as a good band. I don't know.
Thank you. Justin, your rebuttal, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, so let's talk about how they play, or they have 50 million records. They have 50 million records because record labels figured out, Kurt Cobain died, and the lead singers of Soundgarden have a certain sound to them. Let's try to capitalize on that and make very generic sounding music that sort of takes what people used to love about grunge and turn it into this post-grunge, shiny, whiny, or shallow, whiny music. And we'll pump that out to the masses, and we'll follow a formula. And so not only does Nickelback do that, right? They follow the formula. The label tells them exactly what to do. I don't care what they're doing with that $2,000. That $2,000 came out of, any band could start with $2,000 or $4,000, doesn't matter. Then they're gonna get off the ground and they're gonna get in the studio. They got in the studio. The label makes them sound exactly the same on every single song. You can play 2 Nickelback songs together and they sound like the same song. And while they might be doing world tours, people don't even want them there. The halftime show in Detroit, there was a petition to get them to stay out of Detroit. They tried to go to London on a world tour and then they were shut down. There was a crowdfunding campaign to prevent Nickelback from landing in London. That is bad. They are a bad band. They are the worst band because while Creed you keep referencing, yeah, I don't like Creed either, but they're at least trying to do what Creed does with sound like vowels, and they're trying to leave a mark on music, which nobody cares about Creed anymore, right? People don't have an instinctual hate of Creed like they do for Nickelback, because Nickelback keep going. They're on their 9th album that sounds exactly the same as every other album they've done. Creed has sort of phased out. They can't even sell tickets for 75 cents in Alabama. So that's what I say to that.
Mike, Justin's question for you is, if they're not the worst band in the world, tell me what unique impact have they imparted on the music community, besides becoming the poster child for bad music memes? You have 2 minutes.
Music memes. You know, it's funny, they do music memes about everybody. They even do it about good bands, as far as I know. And music memes come in all shapes and sizes. Me, as a teacher myself by trade, I can tell you a few things. One, children don't have the attention span for the band Nickelback, okay? They have the attention span for their short little memes and their funny little YouTube viral clips, and that's about it, okay? They don't need me to show them what it's like, okay? They don't need the Crow to tell them how to be a rock star in this day and age, because nowadays it isn't even being a rock star, all right? It's just about doing something funny and going on YouTube, okay? Their significance is this: they created a generation of above subpar, all right? Above subpar music, and it's steady as a rock. As they say in Ebonics, salad as a rock, okay? And that's all I'm gonna say about that, because Nickelback, my friend, is and always will be a throwback in today's times.
Thank you. Justin, Mike's question for you is, what bands would you consider to be equal to Nickelback in talent? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, so I guess equal in talent. There's not a lot of talent going on in Nickelback. They're kind of like Chad Kroeger's voice is like sandpaper and 8 packs of cigarettes. So, I don't know. They're kind of like Creed, as you've mentioned. Creed's like not a good band, but like I said, they at least try to do something a little bit unique. They tried to take the Eddie Vedder sound and take it and turn it into just vowels, but you know, whatever, that's what they do. But Nickelback, they don't do anything. They just keep pumping out the same song from the time that they were created to now. They have, you know, lyrics like, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack wound up with a broken neck. Humpty Dumpty, do your thing. Daddy's gonna buy you a diamond ring. That's, I don't know, it's pretty bad. I don't know any other bands that can write lyrics as horrible as that. And sound as bad as that. I don't think there is a equal band to Nickelback. I think you could kind of look at, you know, any butt rock band, right? Like Breaking Benjamin or you know, Stained or Creed, Puddle of Mud. They all kind of have that 90s, you know, post-grunge vibe, and I think it was all bad. All of it was capitalizing on, you know, the death of Kurt Cobain. But those guys, Nickelback, they just really push it, and it's just bad. Way worse. All those other bands, they fade out, right? Nobody talks about them anymore. Nickelback's still there, still making music, still marrying Avril Lavigne. It's bad.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen. Mike, your closing statement. You have 2 minutes.
Well, here's what I'll say about Nickelback to finish off. I'd like to call them the soup du jour of the common middle-aged housewife. They're a shout out to a slightly less hip dad, okay? They're the JC himself, that's Jesus Christ, by the way, in the Canadian multiverse, eh? Oh, and while we're at it, okay, the ratings have them over the last 20 years. If you look at Rolling Stone, the ratings have them right about 60%. That's a solid C+ student in my world. I don't care what you say, all right? Chad Kroeger alone has a cavalcade of girlfriends and exes that would blow your mind, even Avril Lavigne. Even if it's not the original Avril Lavigne, it's like whatever. I think she might have gotten abducted at some point, but that's a different story. This is incredible, taking into account that he looks a bit like the Beast from that 80s version with Lyndall Hamilton of Beauty and the Beast. He kind of looks like that thing. He continues to be a sex symbol even though that happens in Canada, all right? And you need to remember this, okay? Being a sex symbol in Canada can be tough. Much like Canadian currency, this lacks both value and validity in the Americas. But I will tell you this, Nickelback is gonna make a comeback. Nickelback's gonna make a comeback in 2018.
Thank you, Mike. Justin, your closing statement. You have 2 minutes.
All right, so I'd like to start off with all the sex symbols and drug talking that we were talking about earlier. No, they don't actually drink on stage. They have no record of actually being degenerates and going to the strip club. It's all fake. And that's why I bring that up, because I want to use that here at to close out. I was walking through the record store the other day. I saw a used Nickelback record in the vinyl bin. They wrote on the plastic, and they said, "For fans of Michelob Ultra." That's what they wrote on the record. Basically, there are no calories, and it's terrible, like Michelob Ultra. There's nothing to it. It's garbage. Two of their greatest hits are written in the exact same arrangement. They sound so similar. You can play How You Remind Me in the left ear and Someday in the right ear at the same time, and it sounds like you're listening to one song. That's terrible. You should not be able to do that. If you did that to any other piece of music, even from the same bands, your brain should explode, because there should be too much chaos going on at the same time. Nickelback, the band, is only part of a larger issue that make them the worst of all time. As a band, they're simply bad. As we've discussed, there are plenty of bad bands in the world. Nickelback, the concept, is really what sets them apart. The idea that a record label and a PR firm can mold a band into whiny, shallow, hard rock, where every song sounds the same, and then sell that and force that into the studios, into the radios, into the record stores, to convince fans to buy the garbage and say that garbage is good. Nickelback is that garbage. And Nickelback is complicit in the arrangement, and they continue to play the part of garbage and feel like they totally deserve all the money and the fans that they have. And again, I'm sorry, anyone that can write the lyrics on the 9th album and say that it's good is "We've got no fear, no doubt, all in, balls out." I don't know, that's pretty terrible. That is why they are the worst band. Until I get gavelled, I'm going to read a couple more lyrics. Yeah, no. I've got a pony in my own rodeo.
Thank you.
I was lying when I told her I'm only going to lick her tonight.
Don't overdo the Krog.
What do you think? Is Nickelback the worst band ever, or are they going to make a comeback soon? Let us know. Comment below.